Welcome to another edition of the Resilient Living Podcast, a show dedicated to improving quality of life for both people and planet through liberation and independence, moving from surviving to thriving and living life on your own terms. The significance of the long game is what we're going to talk about today, and I want to talk about sustainable living. How, if we're setting ourselves up, how are we going to do this when we're really old? Living life for today, for tomorrow we die. I've heard that one along. Guess what, people? We're still alive. Things are still going, and the struggle seems to keep going on, doesn't it? Doesn't have to be that way. The accumulation of life skills. As you progress in life should be getting better and better. Is it? Why the current assigned lifestyle designs don't work and never will. Let's take a look around us. This is our example. Is it really working? Are people happy? Are people thriving? Are we moving from surviving to thriving? Right? I think we're just surviving. In some cases, I think that we're not even doing that. We need to do something about this, people, and the significance of setting up gifts for your future self. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to start educating our children, ourselves, our communities, and setting stuff up, not just for ourselves, but for other people. And let's not even mention the earth and the animals, the insects, and everybody else who's at the big smorgasbord of life. Everybody needs to eat, right? So let's get into it. Sustainable living for your future and old age, I think, is something that just really hit me on a show I did 2 shows ago. I think it was episode 51. And I look at the lifestyle design for me, and I look at my grandfather, all my grandparents who had passed away, lived to an old age, and they had, the house, the cars, and stuff like that. They set themselves up. This is not sustainable living. This is just regular old living. What happened during that end period of life? Was it set up correct? Were things put in place where you were able to still function, those individuals? No, they were not. And if we look at our community, our so-called lifestyle design that we have here implemented for us, what does that do for the older people? What are you doing for yourself? Maybe I might want to ask. I'm asking myself that question. What happens if your body starts to degrade, which it will? We all don't want to think about these things, but what did my grandfather have to do? He had to build, after my grandmother passed away, he was able to be there to cook food and clean her up and maintain her. And I'm of Russian descent, supposedly 100. I think that's debatable. Grandfather has some very, how could I say, not so round eye, and he has a year-round tan, this reddish skin and a patchy beard. Looks awfully Mongolian, so I don't know, side shoot there. But yeah, my grandfather was there to nurture and actually have my grandmother pass away in the house. That's the way they did it. My grandfather actually passed away in his own house as well. And I think that's something that's nice instead of what's the alternatives to life. As I say on the show, Alternative Lifestyle Design, what the show should be called. We might change it at some point, I don't know. But grandfather had to take care of himself, and that involved building a ramp over the staircase that even just to enter in your house wasn't very thought out, wasn't very sustainable for old age. They had to build a wheelchair ramp, and for most of his life, he actually walked up that thing. I think maybe towards the last part of it, maybe like a week or so, he actually needed to be wheeled up, but he still got up out of the wheelchair and did things himself all the way till his dying day. But those are the type of things that I look at. I look at people setting themselves up for life. And as far as sustainability goes, on that show, on 51, I was talking about, on my research about living off the land, living, doing things yourself, living on a farm, being a producer instead of a consumer of your life. But when we look at sustainability, we need to set up, say, wind. That's what the one that I was looking at was a guy who had wind power. And he said he was just getting too old, especially in the wintertime. Things would freeze, and they need energy. They're old and cold, right? They need to warm themselves up. Well, unfortunately, to get wind power, you need to go as high as possible if you're living sustainable to catch them winds. You see trees and hills and homes and things like that obstruct the wind. The higher you go up, the more susceptible that wind generator is actually going to work. Well, that's like 80 to 100 feet up in the air. Who wants to climb up in the blizzard snow to de-ice the thing so it'll start spinning to produce energy, right? Those are things that are very difficult. You don't want to be doing that at 80 years old. I don't even think you want to be doing that at 60 years old. But yeah, so what I've learned with a lot of people was when I started doing research about living in intentional communities, eco villages, stuff, gatherings where multiple people live together, working together. And a lot of them said that they had to do it because they tried to do it themselves and it was just too hard. And the older they got, even the successful ones to live a sustainable life said that it was just less work to actually have more people involved. The more people you got. So whether we are looking to live off the land, sustainable, and are we thinking about the long game, whether we're going to live in the city off money, if you're rich, I guess it doesn't matter. Garçon, fetch me my underwear, son, put them on me, right? Give me a sponge bath. You got the money to do so. If you've done so, great. I guess you've worried more about money than your health. If you have to have somebody wheel you up or put your underwear on or give you a sponge bath, I think there's things that you can do. I've met people. I have a friend of mine right now who's probably, I think, close to 80 years old and can go from a full squat without putting her hands on the ground and stand back up without balancing, without losing your balance and falling over. There are people who've taken care of themselves. They thought about the long game. Everything is about that long game. And I can't get into everything about the long game, but I hope we touch enough. The most important thing that you can do, though, is to start thinking about that future. And what are you working towards? What are you doing now? So that's living for today is my next note here. For tomorrow we die. Well, guess what? A lot of us don't die. A lot of us go on living for many, many years. And I don't think that we're participating enough for our own lives and dreams and setting ourselves up properly and correctly for such events. We're worried more about today. That's the problem. I think the biggest problem with our society and people is that's the mentality. I don't really want to think about tomorrow. I don't want to think about that one day my heart's going to stop beating. I don't want to think about that I could fall ill or that maybe I should start doing yoga or eating a little healthier instead of cheeseburgers, and just sitting on the couch all day drinking beer and wine and, destroying my body. Because in the future, you're really going to pay. So yes, you enjoyed it for today. And many, many people do, especially when you're younger. I would like to say the future. The long game is what you see when you're younger is a lot of people partying up, having a good time. And I don't necessarily mean going out there and, doing drugs and alcohol and things like that, although you will see that. You'll see them now. They're young and they seem like they're invincible. And it's in the long game when you see the trouble start to hit. You see people who are spending their money like nobody's business. Statistics say that Americans... I know we have listeners from all over the world. I don't know what it's like in your country. Please let me know. I love hearing about the differences. But over here in the United States, they said 7 out of 10 Americans barely has just like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 in the bank at any given time. They're living paycheck to paycheck. And one little catastrophe hits, they're done. It's over. That's why I don't understand how society is still functioning right now. I guess, the stimulus money, the printing of money and stuff like that, they're basically just feeding a bunch of babies. Now, not to say that some people don't need it. Some people need it. Some people are in very bad situations, but the majority, I'm pretty damn sure, could go do something. You can go to work or you can start setting your life up. As I say, start thinking about sustainable living and thinking about the long game. Because what's the longevity of somebody printing money and feeding you money? What is it, guys? And live for today. Party up. They're giving you this money, the stimulus money, and you're out there buying beach toys and lawn furniture and taking vacations and stuff like that. How long do you think that could be sustained for? And then what? Then what do you do? There's consequences to everything. Now, when all of this ends, which has got to one of these days, if you're the type of working person that wants to live life on your own terms, live life the way you want, you're probably going to want to rent a house. You're probably going to want to buy maybe some property. You're probably going to need a car. You're probably going to have to apply for a loan. And what are all these people, these loan agencies going to do? They're going to look at you and probably say, so if I loan you this couple $100,000 or we put our name on this to back you up, what backup guarantee do you have that you're going to pay this back? How are we not going to lose our investment? What's the equal value for value exchange here? It looks here on paper that you were living off the government. The government's giving you stimulus money for an entire year. So what's your plans? You going to get a job? What job do you have? And when you get that job, is it going to be sustainable? We have a lot of people who didn't pay rent, and a lot of the homeowners, the real estate investors, people who own the real estate, had to pay it out of pocket themselves. They're really gun shy. So now we get people like you coming up saying, hey, I want to rent this house. They're going to look at your financial statements, if you even have them, they're going to look at your track record and you're probably going to look pretty bad. Now, that's where I look at is, yes, we party for today, but because tomorrow we die. And unfortunately, on the die part, a lot of the friends that I've had in my life who partied up are pretty much dead. I have to say, just stone cold. I know that's harsh probably to say, but that's the actual truth. For those of you, I think your children need to hear stuff like this. I think they need to see these things because they don't see them. They came and they went. Everybody forgot about them. It was nothing. But not me. I was sitting there the whole time watching things and trying to equate to go, what is the long game? What's going to happen with this? If we continue doing these things, what's eventually going to happen? And I think it's a wide awakening. It's not easy. You know, I'm not saying that it's good that people have passed away and that things happen to them, but I do see the good part to wake up for yourself, and especially all you young people out there to look and go, that could happen to me. There's drunk driving, and there's all kinds of horrible things that could happen with the live for today, for tomorrow we die. Because you know what? That tomorrow could come very, very fast. And I think there's tons of things that we can do. A lot of people live life saying, I'm just one person. There's not much that I can do. I can't change anything. The government, this whole pre-designed lifestyle design here, this preset thing that I'm supposed to follow, everybody's doing it. The numbers are so great, there's no changing it. Bull crap. You can do stuff for yourself. You just have to start thinking out of the box. You have to start thinking about the long game in life. You have to start accumulating life skills, which is my next note here. In order for us to get out of whatever we're in if we're not happy, and I notice, guys, that a lot of people, they're very unhappy, right? How many people that you meet that you can honestly look at their face, look into their eyes and say, wow, what an enlightened human being. This person really cares about what I'm saying. They hear me. They see me. They're not just waiting for their turn to speak. This person has patience. This person has generosity, right? They have all of these things, these qualities where they actually care about themselves. They care about the earth. They see the significance of everything. And they're really doing their best to stand out and to do good for goodness sakes. They're humaned up, as I like to say at the end of the show. That's what that means, if anybody's wondering. Forget about man up. Forget about woman up, cowboy up, all these, toughen up and all these kind of things. Human up. Being a human means that you're compassionate, you have empathy, and these are things that pay you back for yourself. Maybe not even in money. Sometimes it pays back in money. But you have wealth of all of these things that are, there's nothing that you couldn't buy them. This is the I'd say the unspoken language of the wealth that sustains us to having purpose in our lives and things like this. And these are life skills that we develop along the way to actually see these things. No, it's not physical where I can grab a hammer and a 2x4 and build you a barn. That's a skill as well, and just significantly as important. But I think these life skills, to see these things in life and to be able to share them and have compassion and have it for yourself. Who wants to live angry, right? How does that feel for you? That's one thing I've been trying to work on with myself. I don't want to be angry at seeing all the garbage laying around and judge people, even though it's very, very difficult. There's a lot of things that I can't change. I know I can't change. But it's time to start focusing on the things that I can. I don't have to drive on the freeways and go up to the local mountains here and see all the plastic. I could actually go way the far out in the middle of nowhere because I've designed my life. I've focused on what works for me and what doesn't to be able to get away from all that stuff and actually go to places where I can experience beauty, nature, and things that are untouched by my fellow pigs. I'd like to say they are pigs, and that's a horrible way to look at it, but there's a lot, as you guys can hear, there's a lot of stuff I've got to work, a lot of life skills I need to develop for myself as well. But the accumulation of life skills in order to for the long game, I think, is in your life should be getting better. I say that a lot. You're going to hear that throughout the lifetime of the show. You should be gaining more and more life skills, both spiritually, emotionally, financially, skills on how to fix things, how to build businesses, build things, repair things, invent things. Life should be getting better. If you're an artist, a musician, or a barn builder, a furniture maker, you should be getting better and better every year and exposing yourself to as many different life skills, many experiences as you can, so that in the future you have so many things that you're capable of doing to teach people, right, for the long game. That, to me, I look at, why would you retire? Why would you want to retire? Most people can't retire, meaning they have a bunch of money, but they're still out there doing something. To me, why would we worry about money so much in the prime of our life? If we've learned all these skills and we're able to do things that we love, we could teach other people. And if we look back, and therefore you never have to really retire, you're going to do things that you love and you could possibly get paid for it if you play your cards right? Who would want to live that life? You have a purpose. People want to learn from you. They want to be with you. They want to be exposed to the things that you have. You could actually help and make life around you a better place. When I think about the old days, a movie that I know it's just a movie, but it's called Master and Commander, and it was about these people in this, I think the 17 or 1600s, on a ship. My history is probably way off. But when we looked on this in this movie, what I observed is that there was the captain and there was a doctor and there was these mates, right? The deck mates and stuff. Well, all of these people back in the old days weren't susceptible to their telephones and things like that. They didn't have them. They had to rely on life skills. And what we found was that not only did the doctor on the ship of this warship was able to repair and save human lives, he also knew how to play violin or an instrument of some sort. I can't remember which one it was, but he was really good at it. And he was able to fight. He knew how to somewhat sword fight. He knew he was a marksman. He knew how to shoot guns. He knew how to repair things. In short, everybody on that ship had different qualities and different talents that they had in multiple things to give themselves entertainment, to live sustainable, to stay alive, to save lives, and to just basically be happy, right? To entertain themselves. So these are things that I think that we should start accumulating in life. And for the long game, this is things that not only just for sustainability and survival, but for entertainment and just pure joy and pleasure and to make the world a better place. So moving on next, why the current assigned lifestyle designs don't work, and they never will. Because when we think about the long game, it's not even being thought of. It's not even being implemented in here. And I don't know how much to believe in all this. From what I hear, we have infinite supplies of oil. We're just being lied to. Makes sense to me, but it could be a conspiracy theory. But why would we be living this lifestyle? Oil is probably one of the best examples here. Everything is based on oil. Guys, if you don't understand this, tires to go harvest all the corn and soy, which is in everything. If oil ran out today, what would we do? Go back to horses? Sure, some people say, yeah, we'll just go back to horses. People, are you going to be able to sustain billions of people on horseback doing it the old ways? Probably not, as they say. Although I don't buy it, I think that maybe there could be some things we could do. We just need to do some tweaking using permaculture and natural farming techniques. I think, yes, we can. But without the use of machinery, we're all goners. We're going to starve to death. And a lot of people are kind of talking about that. Everything's made out of petroleum. Besides your food and every dog food and soy and corn and stuff like that and grains, they're in everything because they're cheap, they're easy to grow, they're very quantifiable. We can go and poison these things and kill them all at the same time, like our wheat, so that everything dies, and then we can harvest the dry grain all at once instead of having green and dry mixed up, because it's very difficult, which nature wants to do. Instead, we'll just poison it all by crop dusting, and then we'll come in and harvest everything. It's very convenient. We're not thinking about the long game. What's going to happen with that soil? A lot of people say now we don't even have soil. We just have this medium. It's been raped so many times, sprayed with herbicides and insecticides and nitrogen and all of these things, and plowed over until it's like a Frankenstein dead soil. There's no microbiology. There's no thought in the long game of what do we got going on here? Is this going to desertify the planet? I think we've done this before. I think this is what's happening now. The biggest export of United States of a good is soil. It erodes. It washes down our rivers and into the big Gulf, along with all the pesticides. That's why the Gulf, the ocean there in that area of Florida, Louisiana, all that, is considered a dead zone. It's like a big giant pit where it's the end of the drain pipe from our so-called life that we're living, that we're trying to sustain. And that's the difference between sustainable and resiliency. When we think about the definition of sustainability means, can we reach a certain level and sustain it? All right, we got there, like we're doing right now. Our current lifestyle design, we're producing corn and soy, and we have enough oil and everything to maintain wars and food and crops, and we're just sustaining right there. But if you look at the sustainability, the definition, that's awesome. Sustainable living, that's awesome. But your solar panels are going to wear out one day, and those are made out of petroleum, believe it or not. The wind power that's used to generate your electricity is made out of petroleum as well. The plastic's up there. If it's made out of aluminum or steel, guess what it took to get that aluminum steel there? Petroleum, right? The ground is depleting. The microbiology is completely dead. We'd have to let that land sit feral for many, many decades, plant it and rejuvenate nature and let it do its thing to where the worms and all the beneficial insects and bacteria and microbiology could do their thing to make that place fertile again so a tree will even grow on it. We're not thinking that way. And sustainability means that we're just kind of flatlining. We got to it. We're producing. Everybody's doing fine right now. But in the background, there's no resiliency. What does resiliency mean? Resiliency means something that you can stretch like a rubber band. Stretch it, and it immediately returns to its form without any damage. That's resiliency. You can beat it with a hammer, and it'll, like a piece of rubber, it'll dent as you hit it, and it'll return right back, and it's unaffected. That's what we want to build. That's the whole premise of the show, is to build resiliency in life. That's why it's called the Resilient Living Podcast instead of sustainability. So, yeah, that's where we're coming from. There's no backbone. There's no thought as to what's going on with our future, with our land, with the forests that we're cutting down all these trees for toilet paper and stuff, little funny things that we can write to make deals and signatures to make money. What are we going to do when the last trees are chopped down? What are we going to do when there's no more oil, if that's truly the case of what they're saying? What if there's global warming and all this stuff's happening because of things we're doing? Are we making a difference? Are we making any significance? No, this is not sustainable. For a time being it is. Is it resilience? Heck no. It is not resilience in one bit. Now, there are many, many practices, but guess what? Those practices of resiliency, such as permaculture, natural farming, and things like that, they're not very profitable for people. There's no billions of dollars. As Dr. Gerson said, healing with a 95% success rate of healing people from cancer, diabetes, and other illnesses. Reason why she says that it's been pushed down and hidden from the public is because the major medicine practitioners make a heck of a lot more money selling you pills that give you all kinds of side effects so they can sell you more pills. And what does it do? Does it heal you? Most cases, no. I would say 90%, unless I'm wrong. Somebody please correct me. But it seems like people are addicted and reliant on these drugs so that they don't die. Now, Dr. Gerson says you can't make a lot of money on carrot juice or apple juice. You teach people how to actually sustain or to bring resilient back into their body and their immune systems to fight off cancer, 95% success rate at it. But there's not really much money in it. Maybe the money to be able to house you in a place where they have to practice overseas in Mexico, over the border in Mexico. They can't. That's not allowed in the United States, even though it has a 95% success rate, right? And we're sustainable and we're all working together on this, right? Yeah, right. So they have to go over to Mexico where they're able to do these practices, and maybe they do need to charge you some money for rent and things like that. But it's there. That's resiliency. That's resiliency in the healing power that we have. We have the power to heal this earth, to do many, many things, and yet it's not profitable. And it's not very sexy, I think, for a lot of people. The convenience. Everybody wants their convenience. So we're not thinking about the long game. What does convenience do for the long game? Not much. But it doesn't have to be that way. In permaculture, let's get some, I know I'm probably getting on a negative note here. In permaculture, if we start planting food forests, in the words of Mark Shepard, Water for Every Farm and Restoration Agriculture, if we started planting a bunch of trees, and Joseph Lofthouse was on the show, we start planting a bunch of vegetables and stuff, and whatever dies, just dies. We just let it go. Why are we trying to keep alive what wants to die? And why are we trying to kill what wants to live? Right? We let these things go for many, many years. Let's just say we did this for 20, 30, 40 years. You got yourself a piece of land, and you just let the bugs, the animals, and everybody, whatever lives, lives. The animals, the squirrels, the possums, the ants, the birds, whatever have you, is going to come in and destroy whatever is, and whatever makes it has a resilient life. That's thinking for the long game. Nature lives this way. So what end up, let's say if you're in Florida and you planted a bunch of coconut trees, and granted you're in a strategic good location, and there was plenty of rainfall, and you put your papayas and all these things, many of them would die, but the ones that lasted for 20 years have these strong genetics. The tomatoes and lettuce and spinach and things you had on your land by land racing, as you'll hear from Joseph Lofthouse if you go back, have the resiliency. They've evolved, and they passed on the good genetics to their babies, so where everything wants to live, really, it's going to try its hardest until it's completely abolished. And then next thing you know, you have this entire food forest. That's the long game. That's setting ourselves up for the future. Same thing with Mark Shepard, doing a large-scale agriculture, as we talked about. They're doing chestnuts. They have food forests. They have these trees, these of cane fruits. They have big chestnut trees over on the top canopy. Underneath that, they have like berries and cane fruits and stuff like that. Then they have hazelnuts under, in between those, and on the bottom they have mushrooms growing, and they have there's these layers and layers of food just in that one alley crop, which is one that aisle. And in between, they're planting asparaguses and things like that. And they'll go and harvest those things up. And they're doing this on large scale. We just don't hear about it because Big Ag and Big Pharma makes a lot of money. Bill Gates is buying up land. Why? Because they're probably going to make beyond impossible burgers out of soy and corn and all these things that they can quantify. They can go to big, large lots of lands, rape the earth, do what they want with it, and make millions of dollars. And claim that they're helping and they're sustaining life on this planet as we know it. When other people are doing at scale, when we look at, there's no pesticides, no watering, no fertilizer, there's absolutely nothing. Mark Shepard does nothing on his farm. Joseph Lofthouse does nothing on his farm except for water occasionally. No pesticides, no fertilizers, no nothing. Yet things are growing, but it took some years, and now it's unstoppable. So when we think about this as far as the long game in life, what is Mark Shepard's farm or Joseph Lofthouse farm doing? If they walked away, they passed away and died and left everything alone, it would just keep going. That's, my friend, is the long game. We need to take those examples and we need to think about that in our lives. What could we do financially, spiritually, emotionally, all of these things for ourselves to set those things up and to have a sustainable life for the future, for the long game? Well, I think the very first thing is we need to notice that this current assigned lifestyle design is complete bullcrap. None of this is really working at all. Sure, the milk's delivered to your doorstep as they used to do in the old days. I guess I got to stop saying that one. But we have all these conveniences, but at what expense? You're eating crappy food. That's going to put you on medication. You're going to rely on that medication for the rest of your life. Otherwise, you will die. You're poisoning yourself slowly by the water you drink, the air you breathe. You're poisoning the earth and everything else. We need to do something different. And we have all things. What we need to start doing, is my last note here, is the significance of setting up gifts for your future self. Metaphorically speaking, you plant those trees now for yourself. In the future, a lot of those, as time progresses, a lot of those are probably going to die off. But what's going to happen to the ones that live? The ideas and things that you have in your life, the wealth that you start to build, the assets that you accumulate, and all of these things. What could you do? What could you do to give that gift to your future self? Many things, as I said throughout this particular show here, is gaining those life skills, getting the mindset straight. The mindset is everything, and I think a lot of people don't like to hear that because they want actual things. What can I do right now? Give me 5 things I can do to start bettering my life. Now, those are great, but once you get the mindset, you're able to design things yourself. You're unstoppable. So I think the mindset is one of the biggest things that you can do. I would say that the setting up of gifts for your future self are things that you will never see sometimes. I want to add that one in there. Those trees that maybe you planted if you're later on in life, those trees you planted until someone chops them down are going to be there. And that's something that you left, a legacy. I know a lot of people, I don't understand it, want to leave a legacy behind them, right? I just want to live life. I'd love to help people out, but I love to plant the trees, but I don't know if I'm going to be here to enjoy them. I just do it because I know it's the right thing to do. That's the thing I look at as Human Up on the show. Do it because it's human. Do it because it's right. Do it because it makes you feel good. But setting up gifts for your future self, to me, is doing the work early on in life like I have done for myself. I have been able to accumulate emergency funds. I have given the gift to the future for my children, given the gift to my future self to be able to live sustainable, live below my wage, and actually spend the money where I thought that it counted, which was going out with my children and having experiences where we camp for weeks on end, a few months sometimes. Having all those experiences I said on my last show, those are things that have, when my children are older, are going to look back and hopefully shape the rest of their life to like, you know what? I need to decompress. I need to stress out. I need to go to nature. You know what? Every time I've been in nature, I remember when I was a kid, my dad would take me out there, and the waterfalls on the ocean and the streams and the trees and everything just seemed to soothe me. I need to go back to that. That's giving a gift to your future self. Doing the hard work as I did to get there was working initially very, very hard. Life doesn't have to be it's not a job your entire life where you have to really go extreme. You just need to do it. You need to get that mindset straight, and you need to do what I do is when you buckle down. And that, as I said, with that long game, we didn't go a lot of places. I didn't go a lot of places. I didn't do things. I just worked very, very hard, came up with a number, understood my numbers. What do I need to make? How much money do I need to sustain, put for myself so I could sustain my family? And then how much money do I need to make so I can live a resilient life with my family? These were all things that I worked very hard for. Now that they're done, they're pretty much done, and now it's just some light maintenance. And when I think back now, as far as giving a gift to my future self, I am so happy that I did that back then, because, there's a lot of questions, I think, with people. Is like, where do I start? And I feel it's too late in life. Nonsense. It's never too late in life. What you do now affects your future. It always will. You will continually be doing this. You will be continually setting yourself up for future gifts if you do it right. You planted that mango tree 10 years ago. At the time, you were like, it's probably not going to do anything. It's probably going to die. And it didn't die. And it's there. And now you're eating this wonderful sweet fruit that you can't even buy at the grocery store, right? Maybe an avocado tree. I love avocados. And you're living this wonderful life, eating this wonderful food from the thing that you did, the fruits of the labor you did years ago. If you didn't take that time then, you wouldn't be having the experience that you're having now. So that's where I look at a lot of the gifts that you can do. I think I would like to say that getting your financials, your numbers and everything in order, which they don't teach in school, getting that down makes life a heck of a lot easier, a lot more funner. There's a lot more adventure and a lot less, stressful, definitely, that initial. So that's what I have to say. We're eating up time. I keep going too long on these shows. Guys, if you liked it, please like and subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. If it's a thumbs down, tell me why. If you have suggestions, there's the email, which is resilientlpodcast@gmail.com. You guys can get a hold of me there and let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any questions about things or suggestions, and as I always say, guys, go out there and have yourself a near-life experience. Don't lose your muchness. Carry on the fire and human up, my friends.